All right. So, Final Fantasy V, in which I can just immediately get to work on doing the next one because it's right here. So, Final Fantasy V. I got to admit, this is one that most people say is kind of lacking on the story front, but I actually disagree, as we will get to. But I admit there is a large amount of great amount of tools in the toolbox that I actually really do enjoy using. The problem is that there's a lot of other things that I don't much care for. So forgive my indulgence. You'll forgive my indulgence. But let's start with my brief little mini history with this game. Let's start with the fact that this is the game that just refused to be streamed by me. Whoops, sorry. Let's start with the fact that this game was the one that refused to be streamed by me as I turn my monitor off again. Make sure that's recording, not live, because I don't need it to be live, damn it. Okay, it is just recording, sorry. Needed to make sure. So, Final Fantasy V is easily one of my... is a game that I've been wanting to stream because I wanted the excuse to go through it. Well, the only version that I was available for me to stream was, of course, the now defunct mobile version with those interesting character sprites. It's which honestly I think fit FF5, but not really with FF6, right? The cartoony character models. Because FF5 I would describe as a Saturday morning cartoon. But again, and now I know that sounds like an insult, but it's not. Because again, a Saturday morning cartoon absolutely can have dark and serious storytelling. I mean, Batman the Animated Series, for fuck's sakes. Need I say more, right? Then again, there was also. But then again, I would also argue there are others. Don't do this, body, damn it. I would also argue there are other shows that were shown on Saturday mornings that could easily have, could actually have dark and serious stories, right? It, I mean, Yu-Gi-Oh, despite the 4Kids version, frickin' Dragon Ball Z, right? I could keep going. But the thing is that this is very much the most Dragon Quest the Final Fantasies ever get, which is ironic because I'm actually recording this on the day of the first session of Blue Dragon, believe it or not. In fact, from my perspective, in about an hour and 40 minutes, I will be streaming. You mean Blue Dragon? Regardless of any of that, though, oh, I tried to stream this, but my OBS refused to play the now defunct mobile version. The Pixel Remaster did actually go ahead and say, yeah, alright, I'll be streamable, you know. But for some reason, OBS just refused to be recognized is by my OBS. And I just could never figure out why. So, there you go. And of course, I never even touched the mobile version, but can tell you that the character models didn't do FF6 any favors. And easily the mobile version, the now defunct mobile version, is the worst one that was ever released. Granted, now of the ones that are actually available, we can, most people are going to point to the PS1 version as the absolute worst, and I'm just going to roll my eyes and be like, because I don't actually think there's been a bad version of F6 outside of that now defunct mobile version. Which is funny because I also don't think, but then again, I also don't think, although to be fair, that's more because of the headache inducing visuals. But I honestly think FF5 doesn't suffer that badly from the visuals. from the visuals of the now defunct version. Though I would recommend the Pixel remaster more than anything, as I do still think that is the the dumbest version because of the visuals, right? The PS1 version is one I will defend because I think it's actually not as bad, but whatever. Then again, I actually don't mind calling Lena Reina, so what the hell do I know? But let's talk about what FF5 does well, because more than likely this is one where I will actually be spending more time on the gameplay side of things than on the story front. With Final Fantasy IV, it was about even. With Final Fantasy V, it's probably going to be more gameplay, and with Final Fantasy VI, it's probably going to be more story. There are some of the irritations that I could mention, the NPC placement, engagement, some of the bosses which love to spam status effects, the fact that I gave Confuse and Zombie a gameplay negative by itself for the irritation of that. What else do we got? This was the first FF that I gave an accuracy and evasion negative, which was actually a double negative because way too many attacks missed. I hate that. I hated the shifting sands. I hated fighting the sandworm. Uh, I could go on and on about that. Running is entirely too RNG, which is funny because I didn't have a problem with it in FF4, so therefore FF4 didn't get that negative. Uh, you know, I'm in the minority on the Four Crystals boss fight of not liking that one. This is the one that had got a triple negative for encounter rate because I hated it. Escaping from Castle Karnak is just what the fuck. The very nature of the grind required to max out jobs was a negative. Negative, like you see where I'm coming from, right? There's a lot of things that piss me off, but I think the biggest thing for me outside of the encounter rate and specific stuff like Phoenix Tower is the frickin' basically my triple negatives were the status effect fetish, the encounter rate, right, and the and the shifting sands because I hated it so goddamn much, and give me a moment because I know there's another triple negative. There it is, Phoenix Tower, which combined with all the other negatives brought the gameplay score down to plus 40. Which is funny because I actually ended up giving this game a plus 40 plus 49 to story, plus 40 to gameplay. Now, why did I do that? Why did I rank story above gameplay? Because again, there's just too many things that drag the gameplay down for me. This is my favorite setup for gameplay, but the problem is the execution leaves a lot to be desired. I'm so sick. I got so sick of the status effect fetish. I hated it so goddamn much. And wow, did some of the bosses really piss me off because they took part in the status effect fetish. You know, and I gave a negative for grind just because certain jobs would require triple frickin' nine. AP to do, and most battles will give you one. By the way, that AP is not, like in FF6, AP is not multiplied by how many enemies are on screen. So, let's say I'm up against like a group of 6 enemies, that battle will still give me only 1 AP instead of 6, which easily would have mitigated this completely. And I hate it. They thankfully fixed that in FF6 in a couple of ways, mostly through the multipliers uh, and the fact that they just upped how much each battle will give AP for how much each battle will give you AP. But I digress. I really do enjoy the sprite work. That's good stuff. The music is fantastic. The maps are once again great. This game is one of the funniest funniest in my entire that I've ever played. The tutorials being optional is a good thing. All right, let's talk about, but let's go ahead and talk about the meat of the gameplay now. The job system. So I talked about this briefly during Three Hopes, but it's very much it's very much in what I like to call the upgrading toolbox. So you start with they give you a toolbox and say, here, go play with these tools. Then you get a little bit farther in the game, and then they swap out the toolbox that says, here's a bigger toolbox, and it has all of the tools that toolbox has, but it's bigger and it's more expensive and it's got more tools. Then they pull out a third toolbox, and and then it's expanded even further. This one has 4 toolboxes because they're the 4 crystals, and it's great because once you get all of the crystal shards from all 4 things except for mime, because mime has to be done in world 3. he you gain you've got all of these different jobs, which means as you level these jobs up with the AP, you would gain abilities which then can be mixed and matched to do different things, right? With the freelancer job being able to be an omni class, basically. If you put in the time and effort for each class, it is amazing, and it offers a lot of different possibilities. So unless you're doing a 4-job fiesta, there is almost no building yourself into a corner. But I do still have to acknowledge that sometimes it can be miserable to backtrack if if you haven't really leveled up time mage at all, so you can't just put time magic as an ability, which means then you have to switch to time mage and then cast teleport to get out. Or if your characters are completely out of MP. This is why Phoenix Tower was a triple negative, by the way, and why I gave 2 negatives to backtracking. Because if you overextend yourself, you're royally fucked. And it is pretty damn easy to overextend yourself. And it really just pissed me off, and I was just like, no. So, yes, in a few different ways, I probably was overly harsh, but that's just because of how much I enjoyed the rest of the game, that Phoenix Tower just kind of stood out more. The shifting sands in Phoenix Tower just kind of stuck out like sore thumbs. But then there's, of course, escaping from Castle Karnak, which I guess I should, which has the timer and the music, which is the problem there. But the job system I actually really liked because the job system again, this is the game in which we came up with the concept called the Zen of leveling. See, the Zen of leveling is no, I don't need to sit right beside this town and run around in a circle for 4 hours or it's grinding, but I want to. I want to spend those 4 hours sitting there and leveling because I enjoy it. It's cathartic. For the most part, it helps me to degauss, right? This is actually one of the reasons why I turn to games like Final Fantasy V, Final Fantasy VI, Final Fantasy VII. Well, not so much 8, but Legend of Dragoon, Xenogears even, right? Because it's the zen of just sitting down and in FF5 leveling the jobs, in FF6 it's gaining the spells from the Magicite, in FF7 leveling the materia, in Legend of Dragoon leveling the additions, in Xenogears using the death blows, or yeah, the death blows. I'm right. All of these things have have what I call the zen. This is what I mean by the zen of leveling, right? Gaining new abilities through usage. If it's fun to level, then I'm going to enjoy leveling, right? Now, what's funny is with FF4, I didn't give the Zen of leveling because I didn't feel the need to level, and I didn't really care to level either. Because, at absolute most, I was going to learn a couple of spells upon level up, and that was going to be about it. And it was actually more fun to just plow through the game, which is fine because if you design your game well, plowing through the game can be fun, just as fun as, sitting around and grinding for a while, right? And that's why I love the job system because I can just mix and match and it actually, and I feel like I'm making progress until those triple nines show up and then I get freaking irritated again. There was a lot of good moments in here. Here, the big bridge was awesome. And was awesome. The soul cannon fight was awesome. The ship graveyard was awesome. Just some really great stuff there. Um, the Galoof on his own bit was freaking awesome. We'll talk about that more in the story section. I really do like how the encounters and the trash mobs are designed, because again, it's a way to play around with your tools, right? There's my note about the Zen of leveling. I love the twist of saving Golem. Like you see this random dude who smacks you and then runs away. Hey, but then he's ambushed by monsters and you can save him, which actually led to a hilarious clip on my channel and a lot of Bart's actually attacking Golem, and so I actually think it was Lena and Ferris casted bio on him twice to knock him out. It was hilarious. Uh, I may not care about him story wise, but some of the Gilgamesh fights were cool. Atomos was an awesome boss fight. I didn't much care for the four crystals, like I said, because again, AoE spam him when they start to get low, and they absorb an element each, and they have high HP. I really don't like that fight. I really don't. Um, then the big scene that follows that, though, was amazing, but we'll talk about that in the story section. Uh, Battling X Death in his castle was freaking cool. Um, this game uses absence of party really well. It does it a couple of times. Then there's some boss fights I did not enjoy. Although I will say, from a gameplay and a story perspective, the pacing of this game is excellent. I almost think I should probably have upped that, if I'm honest. It, the final, then the boss twin Tanya is freaking cool. I love Gilgamesh's. The final times you see Gilgamesh in the game, those are really damn cool. Great from both a story and a gameplay perspective. I love the final dungeon. I like the final dungeon. I think it's actually really cool and well designed. And the final boss fight is fucking amazing. Oh, and then of course I gave pluses to Viscerality, the Thief class, for its awesome abilities. Blue Mage for its versatility, ability, Geomancer for its usefulness, Mime, which actually was fun to be as in this one, which it's not in FF6, and of course the auto battle, and Samurai. So yeah, there's a lot of great stuff. There's a lot of useful. Uh, there's a lot of useful jobs, a lot of useful skills, and a lot of useful everything in this game. Because again, I never feel like I'm powerless at any point. Oh, and the best part is much like with FF4, I didn't have to do any grinding until the very end. And didn't have to until the very end, which was, of course, when I had to get Equip Ribbon from the Dancer class in order to go ahead and do that. It's actually one of the gameplay in this game is surprisingly well done because is the gameplay is what it is something that I love of to experience, but the story is actually what ties it all together for me. Admittedly, I am bigger on the story than I am on the gameplay. This is true, which is funny because that's actually more of what people accuse the lore runner of, right? Because they missed the second half of his name, lore runner, right? Because gameplay is just as important to him. But if you hit a game that has both good gameplay and a good story, like this one, like FF4, like this one, like FF6, well, then you've got a recipe for amazement, don't you? So let's talk about the. So, yeah, it's actually one of the reasons why I love mix and matching, right? You want to make a paladin-esque warrior, you can do, paladin-esque knight, you can do that. Just get some white magic some white magic levels learned. Oh, and you don't have to stop at level 2, by the way, which was the issue with Cecil's spell pool. You can gain some levels in that and do that. And honestly, there's enough. Also, there are also some good grind spots, which I really should have actually given pluses to because freaking FF6 got them. One of these, I think I'll probably go another year of this method of just having it in my notes, and then the following years when I will probably go ahead and just redo my reviews and actually start jotting them down, right? Start jotting them down and kind of displaying them at the end and as kind of I write it out kind of thing. And then maybe I'll get a website, and I'll be financially solvent enough that I can have a website, and then just even if it's just like a vlog site where and here are the reviews, right? And here are the reviews, and here's the positives, here's the negatives, and yada yada yada. But that's all for the future. I still love the maps. Like I said, Auto Battle's still amazing. The music is fantastic in this game. Um, uh, yeah. I guess that's it. I think I've said my piece. I haven't been going very long on this, but then again, I've also been blazing through because I don't really have much to say. There's only so many times you can say, "Is the status effects pissed me off," and the frickin' the frickin' uh some of the boss fights annoyed me. But what's funny is I actually do think that this is actually a solid game. This is actually really good gameplay. I just don't have a lot to say about it because everybody else has already said this stuff. Mix and matching abilities, the different things. Although I will say it was fucking hilarious getting the job because you actually have to go underwater, and so you basically have a time limit on how long you can stay underwater because one of the shrines sunk. So you have to go under there to get the one last job shard, right? So this dude shows up, and he's like, excuse me. And he's like, I am the famed mime. I think the name is actually Go-Go. I think it's Go-Go. I am the famous mime Go-Go. And you must defeat me at the game of mimicry. And the solution is literally to sit there for like 2 to 3 minutes, and it's just doing nothing. Just do absolutely nothing, and that's the solution. My main viewer, my most consistent viewer, Neko, actually went ahead and actually was just like, like she couldn't believe it, so she basically pulled an OC mode gag of she crumbles to pieces because she can't because that's just how dumb that idea is, right? God, that was awesome. I mean, it's goofy, it's silly, and I loved every goddamn minute of it. This is actually one of the reasons why I love this so much, right? The only things I didn't do in this game were fight Omega Weapon and Shiryu. They are difficult freaking fights, and anybody who can actually defeat Omega Weapon, props to you. Absolute fucking props to you. You deserve to be victorious against Omega Weapon, because he is no fucking joke. Ditto Shiryu, by the way. Ditto Shiryu. So, honestly, I do think I'm out of story beats to talk about. So, or sorry, gameplay beats. I'm out of gameplay beats to really talk about. There's not much else for me to say. The jobs are fun, and I love leveling in this game. Now let's shift over to the story. So, spoilers in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Like I said at the beginning, most people look at this and say that this game is lacking in story. Allow me to professionally disagree. Yes, I only gave plus 49 to the story. But you want to know what else I gave a plus 49 to?
Whose story?
That was also the final story score I gave gave Fire Emblem Awakening. And Fire Emblem Awakening is definitely a story I enjoy. See, Fire Emblem, which is funny because this actually has less story negatives. It just has not as many story positives. Awakening was a story I enjoyed, right, for the most part. Art. But this is one that I actually kind of like because, again, it blends the silly and the serious very well. The very first thing that happens is a meteorite comes down and a dude saves a chick from some goblins, which hits way different after the first episode of Goblin Slayer, let me tell you. Ugh. You want to talk worst first episodes in all of anime? Anyways, moving on. So then we save the girl from goblins. We meet an old man who has amnesia. They travel along. Then we encounter them again after we travel along. Excuse me. Then we have a yawn attack. Excuse me. Then so then we meet up with them again. Then we discover a ship that can sail without wind, weirdly enough. Then and so then we find out we're in a pirate's lair. So we decide we're going to commandeer one of the ships. We get captured. The pirates decide the pirate captain decides, yeah, all right, I'll bring you to the wind shrine. And then we head to the wind shrine, which has had its crystal shattered, which is why the wind stopped. And then Ferris effectively dumps the crew so that she can join us, and we can discover that she's a woman in the ship graveyard. One of the things I do like about this is that they treat the idea of of a lone woman amongst some pirates seriously, because they point blank ask Ferris, why did you hide that you're a woman?" And she point blank says, "Because I'm a girl, or the only girl amongst a crew of pirates. Do the math. They find out I'm a chick. Well, their sea rods are gonna be whipped out, if you catch my drift." Yeah. Now, granted, I don't think, actually, to be blunt, I don't actually think Ferris's pirate crew would actually do that to her. I really don't. They might encourage, they might do some catcalling, and maybe once or twice they say, "When are you gonna wear a bikini, Captain?" But other than that, no. I don't think they would show that level of disrespect. Not really. But then there's also Sildra, who is effectively a denizen of a sea creature that effectively is Ferris's best friend. And oh man, I just gotta say, Sildra, ooh, Sildra's when we lose Sildra, and then when Sildra dies, it's just, oh, oh, that hit. Oh, that frickin' hit. Which is funny because she then gains the kingdom. Even though she, pisses off to go at the end to go sailing again, because you can take the princess out of the pirate life, but you can't take the pirate life out of the princess. Yeah. Which is also part of the reason why, she accepts going to the Wind Shrine, because the pendant is, the necklace that Ferris wears is similar to the one that Lena wears. I almost called her Reina. I got so used to calling her Reina on the PS1 version. Please forgive me. Which actually leads us nicely to Lena. I love that Lena is uh Lena is, how do I put this? That Lena is a princess who takes charge of the situation. She's not just a delicate flower. Now, admittedly, she's also not, you know, the warrior princess she wants to be, but with the crystal shards, she can be. And that's actually one of the things that I like. She feels like she's obligated to save the world from the threat of Hex death. And I like that. Then there's Bart's, and yes, I am saving Galuf and Kryl for last because, of course, I am. Bart's is very interesting in that he's a very simple character, but it fits for him. You know? Oh, he very much is the kind of character that could see, echoing Zidane line of, "What? Do I need a reason to help someone?" You know? And yes, we will absolutely be having those quotes appear on screen if we ever do, if slash when we get to FF9, because duh. Each character's character arc is well, I mean, the characterization, there's characterization in those quotes, and it's actually pretty damn good in my opinion. More games could stand to do that. But Bart's, not Darts. Darts is a villain. Bart's is a great, in my opinion, is actually a great example of a character that is simple, but is also effective in how simple he is. He just goes with the flow. But of course, he's got enough of a kind soul that he can't turn his back when the world needs him. And being the son of one of the Dawn Warriors kind of helps that, you know? Simple boy from humble beginnings, even if his dad was some legendary hero. Well, not really legendary hero, but like was a hero from another world. It's good stuff. Man, Final Fantasy really likes to do that, don't they? I just realized that Cecil is a Lunarian and is part Lunarian, which means his dad's from the moon. Frickin' Bart's with the multiple worlds thing. Here in FF5, Terra is gonna in FF6 is gonna be literally the daughter is literally going to be a daughter of two worlds. Uh, you know, uh, FF7, I don't think actually has that mentality. It has that. And it has that, unless you want to count, his predecessor being, a soldier first class that he imitates. It's FF8 literally has FF8 literally has fan theories about, Squall's overall role in things, and it's heavily there is some and I call it fan theories because there's fan theories that says Laguna is Squall's dad, which is stuff to discuss when we get to FFA, when we do FF8 some year. um FF9, Zidane, need I say more? uh Titus, yeah, I'm not even gonna get into that. FF12. FF12 is kind of interesting because that's more symbolic than anything. It's more symbolic, right? It's symbolically so. Ditto with FF13. And then, and then 15 is also again symbolic, but I digress. Let's talk about Galuf now. Galuf is interesting in because Galuf is, at first he's just a silly old man, right? He'd Oh, my amnesia is very, very conveniently pops up and shit like that. Well, Galuf is also a very interesting example of someone who will do what he has to for everything. And I do like that they actually make use of his amnesia, right? The siren's call doesn't get him because he can't remember Kryl. Sid and Mid, who are actually really cool stalwart companions throughout this, help him to start helping him to remember his grandparents, especially when Mid, it kind of wakes Sid up and says he shouldn't give up just because Castle Karnak is destroyed. I'd There's him literally throwing away his amnesia to indicate that his memory is back. You know, then there's him going back to his world so that he can, after Kryl saves them, to and deal with X death. Now that he's free, but he's also not dumb. See, Galuf, there's a scene I wrote it down. Where is it? There's a scene in the town Regol in his world because Galuf infiltrates X Death's castle and, for all intents and purposes, saves the party, right? So Galuf saves the party, Hardy. And then Bart's kind of comes in, in the middle of the night, kind of gets up, and Galoof is having some beer. Here it's like, Bart's, how you doing? Pull up a seat. And so and they sit down and they chat, and Bart's is like, look, I know we caused your plans to go screwball, and Galoof is just like, pff, dude, don't worry, no, don't even worry about that. If anything, I should be thanking you. Who? What? Wait, what? Oh yes, I should be thanking you. We didn't know Excess Barrier had been completed yet. So you basically saved the lives of most of my soldiers and me. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and say thanks because I'm not a paint thinner guzzling dipshit who can't see the writing on the wall that your bungling has literally saved my ass. So thanks for that, Parts. You're actually a pal. It made me like his character so much. Although then when it starts leading us to the sage Guido, Exeth sinks his island, and I'm just like, okay, how the hell did you not? Why the hell didn't you do that before? The only story negative I came up with, funny enough. So then he goes and he meets up with Zizet, and Kelger and Zizet at to who he's old buddies with, old war buddies, and it's really great. And then they go and they go to take down the barrier thing. And so you're taking notes, right, FF4? Because this is how you do death properly. Because Zizat and Galoof have the silly back and forth. And then Zizat gets trapped with no way out. And he knew that could happen. So he decided he was going to do it anyway. Because, of course, he was going to. Because why would he sacrifice? He wouldn't sacrifice anybody that he wasn't willing. He wasn't going to make anybody who do something that he wasn't willing to do himself. We literally have to knock Galoof out to get him out of there so that he doesn't die too. And then Zizet dies, and Galoof is just kind of sitting there for a bit and being like, nope, I'm going to wait for him. I'm going to wait for him, just holding out hope. But like I talked about in Sky 2 with this Stell, waiting, hoping against hope that Joshua would be back at the Bright House. Deep down, Galoof knows the truth. Zizet's gone. Man, does that stick in his craw. It hurts. It's painful. And this is a death that sticks. Then we go and we deal with the 4 crystal boss fight, which I hate, but then Galoof breaks free of X-Death using the crystals to screw us over, and he manages to attack X-Death in a battle you can't lose. You're just free to sit there and just keep wailing on X Death and wailing on X Death and wailing on X Death. And it causes X Death to retreat, but because he kept pushing himself so far and so hard, well, no Phoenix Down, Cure spell, or Raise spell could bring Galuf back. He pushed himself too far at the down state and made the damage irreversible. Then he bids Kryl farewell. That's hitting me. It's actually hitting me again. He bids Kryl farewell, leaves all of his abilities back, so that way in gameplay we don't lose out on all of the leveling we did with Galuf. Kryl becomes our party member, and God, I love Kryl's sprites. I really do. And then the worlds merge, and we're without Lena for a bit, which was kind of irritating, but it's still good. Then we go and we get the seals to break then we go get the tomes we need to break the seals, the tablets we need to break the seals on the 12 legendary weapons. Then we head into the Transcontinental Rift. We have to go and stop X Death from completely engulfing everything into the void. Now let's talk about Gilgamesh. I am not somebody who likes Gilgamesh. Let me just get that out of the way. I don't find him that funny. I find him kind of obnoxious, and I get sick and tired of him interrupting us in gameplay. But those last two bits with him, one where he's just on the world map, and then one when we deal with Necrorobe, open that chest to as for the final save point. That is just poetry, and I love it. His parting words to each of them. Because Gilgamesh didn't see what happened to, or sorry, Gilgamesh didn't see what happened to Galuf. So when we meet him in Exdeath's castle, he's like, hey, where's the old timer? He's gone. Oh, well, he was awesome, and that I'll admit is kind of cool. That Gilgamesh is literally just like, oh, Galuf's gone. He was damn awesome. Just and Gilgamesh means that. He's not saying it to spare Kryl's feelings. No, he means that. I love how he has those encouraging words. I forget what he says to Kryl, but it's like, you know, your grandpa was awesome. Yeah, I think it's literally to Kryl. I think he's basically says your grandpa was awesome. To Ferris, it was as try dating. You might learn something about yourself. Lena, he encourages her to never let go of who she is. And as for Bart's, he's gonna miss their rivalry. So then we go and we deal with Neo X Death, which is an awesome boss fight. And then the ending plays. This is why I say that the ending, that the story of FF5 is underrated. I don't have much to say about the gameplay because, like I said, like I said in the gameplay section, I didn't have much to say about it because you know FF5 system mix and match different things means you know level jobs to be able to gain new abilities that you can mix and match with other jobs. It's great stuff. But honestly, I think this story is underrated. Very underrated. This, in my opinion, is one of the greatest. It is one of FF's best stories. It's just it gets buried under a lot of rubble. FF4 had a lot of issues with its story. Like I said, the sacrifices being undone and the pacing and that fucking leave your women behind scene. Seriously, your white mage and your summoner. What the fuck, Cecil? sorry. But, uh, but FF5 didn't have any of that. It had the sinking of the island, and that was like it. The sinking of Guido's island, and that was like it. This is a shorter video because again, I don't have much else to really say. There's not much nuance for me to go into because there's a lot of awesome stuff. There is some good stuff here. If you haven't played this game, I highly recommend the Pixel Remaster. It gives you great music. It gives you the same great gameplay. You don't really get any of the extra classes from the GBA version. So if you can get your hands on the GBA version, I would recommend that for the new classes alone and the new dungeons alone. But regardless, I encourage you to play FF5. That's all I got to say. I'm done. I wasn't really trying to rush through it, but again, it was just I didn't have much to say. What more can I say about the encounter rate, right? The encounter rate of being interrupted constantly, the status effect fetish. I went over that in FF4 where it was just like bombard, right? I mean, you know what it is. It's just to replace the word poison with the words status effect. And it's the same damn thing. It's just all of the status effects as opposed to just poison, right? I know I'm probably going to get some flack for the lack the lack of for the for rating the story above the gameplay on this one, but I don't care. This is still a damn good game, and for the record, this is also my second highest scoring game on the gameplay axis ever at plus 40. And I stand behind that. Full stop. I stand behind that. But that is indeed it from me. So I won't do it I won't be able to do it today because there's no way I can talk about FF6 in less than an hour. Are you fucking kidding me? Excuse me. I intend to be talking about FF6 for a large amount of time because there's a lot to talk about with FF6. That's because, this game scored. Well, FF5 scored a final score of plus, as 49 plus 40. Well, this is FF6's score. Yeah, the next video is going to be quite a doozy. I only show that because I don't know if I'm going to be, although I will probably be able to show that because I won't be, you know, those won't be in on screen when we do, as I play Blue Dragon. But that's it. That's FF5, ladies and gentlemen. I enjoy FF5. I really do. It's got some flaws, but Then again, all good things have flaws. It's just how much do the positives outweigh the negatives? And this definitely did outweigh the negatives. Until next time, Blue Wolf Alex of the Lore Walkers signing out. Have a good one, and I'll see you for Final Fantasy VI.